Welcome back to this week's edition of the Rock and Roll Ghost podcast. This week we're very happy to have actor Paul Calderon. The man has been in everything. We were just getting into where I might have probably seen you first, but not realized it was probably like Miami Vice and Band of the Hand.
Wow, yeah.
You were on 3 different seasons as 3 different people of Miami Vice.
Yes, I was. Yeah, they wanted to bring me in for a 4th character, but I was doing something else, so I couldn't do it.
Yeah, that I mean, looking back, that's a pretty hot show to have been one of your first,
Yeah.
And then you worked on Band of the Hand too, which was another, I believe Michael Mann had a hand in that as well, right?
Sorry about the helicopters here.
No, you're good. I can't hear them at all.
Oh, good. Yeah, that was an interesting project. I think it was Paul Michael Glaser who directed.
Yeah, from Starsky and Hutch.
Yeah, James Remar was in it, and Lawrence Fishburne had a role in it as well, and shut down Miami, and yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
They would set you up really, really well down in South Beach and give you a suite with TVs in every room, a balcony overlooking the beach, and yeah.
It was that was still a kind of a crazy time for Miami, right?
Oh yeah.
People forget, like if you watch Scarface, maybe it's not as extreme as that, but it wasn't good.
No, it wasn't good. And we were so ignorant. We would go to clubs and not even realize that 90% of the people in it were like, drug cartel members, so.
Yeah. People that had no good up to on their minds.
Exactly.
Well, I wanted to ask you to start off with. I know a film that you're potentially starring in is in pre-production, I believe, with David Zayas. Is that correct?
Oh yeah. That's based on a play that he wrote for the Labyrinth Theater Company many years ago. He turned it into a screenplay, and he's trying to get it going. Trying to get into production. So. Yeah,
there's a cast list on IMDb Pro, so I wasn't sure what level it was at. But that David wrote for Labyrinth, which you were a part of, correct?
Yeah, I was one of the co-founders.
Yeah, and that was a theater company. You were involved in a lot of theater. I don't think people realize that.
Yeah, that's kind of like I don't want to say my true love, but it's a big love of mine, So theater, yeah, I was involved with a lot of theater, still am. I'm one of the co-artistic directors, along with David Zayas, of a small theater company here in the city, and we've done these shoestring productions, and and he's actually on Broadway right now, by the way. So
okay, all right. I love David. I didn't know him until Dexter, and then I started watching FBI, and they kept bringing him back on FBI to play the big criminal mastermind drug lord,
right?
Which I liked. He was trouble even when he was behind bars.
Yeah,
but David's an imposing looking guy, but he also seems like a sweetheart.
He's a sweetheart. He's ex-cop in the Bronx, ex-military guy. He was in the Air Force. He was an MP. And he's a big guy, and he can be tough when he needs to be. And but he's a very sweet, very giving individual.
Yeah. I gather you've known him for a while.
I knew him when he auditioned for Labyrinth Theater Company. He was still a cop.
Yeah.
He came in and wanted to audition, wanted to become an actor, and yeah, that was it.
Yeah. Where are you located now? Are you in New York or LA?
I'm in Brooklyn.
Okay. So you were born in Puerto Rico, but you've pretty much lived in New York City, correct?
Yeah, kind of like my whole life, sort of. Yeah, New York City, Lower East Side, Spanish Harlem, now in Brooklyn.
Well, that makes sense because you did, in your early films, you did a lot of stuff in New York. Sea of Love, King of New York. Bad Lieutenant. Both of those were Abel Ferrara films.
Right.
You did Q&A, which is a movie a lot of people don't talk about a lot. It was one of, why am I blanking on the man's name? The director.
Sidney Lumet.
Sidney Lumet, sorry.
That guy.
Yeah, that guy that did everything. I just watched his final film the other day, or not a couple weeks ago, the Before the Devil Knows You're Dead. And man, that talk about a spectacular way to go out.
Is that the one with Phil Hoffman?
Yeah, and Ethan Hawke and Marissa Tomei. Yeah, it's pretty spectacular. But I haven't seen Q&A in a long time, but it's a really tough movie. Armand Assante plays a gang lord. Nick Nolte plays a very questionable cop, and who's the kid? He's older than I am.
Yeah, he is. He's is it Timothy
Hutton.
Yes.
Yeah, he played the ne'er-do-well good guy of the story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But it's been forever since I watched that. What was your experience like working with Sidney?
Oh God, it was an amazing experience. I heard of the project like every other New York actor. I wanted to audition for it. I wanted to audition for the role of the Puerto Rican detective. Joey Todd was the casting director, and I kind of worked my way in there to get an audition. And I walked into her office and she said, "Oh, you're not what Sidney wants," And I said, "What? What do you mean? I'm Puerto Rican, I can play the." He said, "Nah, he's not what you want." I said, please, please, just give me a chance. I was begging her. She was eating roast beef on rye. I still remember. It's lunchtime, man. She was pissed. I'm interrupting her lunch hour, and she called out to her assistant, "Okay, give this guy a slot, New York, So I showed up the following week, and I'm waiting to meet Sidney Lumet. I'd always been a great admirer of his work, huge fan of his work, and she calls me into her office, and I walk in. As soon as I walk in, he looks at Lumet sitting behind his desk. He looks up at Joy. He says, "Oh, Joy, this is not what I want."
Of course.
This is not what I want. He was aghast that I had walked into his office, So I said, Mr. Lumet, I said, it was worth the opportunity to meet you. So thank you so much. And I turned around. I was going to walk out. He said, wait a minute. Come back in here. He started asking me questions about gay life and this and that. And then he said, "I want you to come back next week and prepare the role of the drug kingpin," which was the role that Asante got.
Right.
The role of the drag queen. And I'm like, what? I wanted to say, what? A drag queen? Are you crazy? Just
Yeah.
I can't play that.
Why do you think he thought you would be perfect for that role?
I have, directors are very intuitive. Maybe the way I turned and was going to walk out, I don't know, maybe some sort of sensitivity that he saw. But he asked me to prepare for two totally different roles.
Right.
One is this hardened drug kingpin guy, and then the other one is some transgender guy, and so I said, great. So I went home, prepared, came in following week, and I remember sitting outside his office the following week, and there were actual transgender performers out there waiting to go in, and he called me in. He wanted to see the drag queen role first, and then the role that Armand got at the end. So I did it. He was using no camera. It was just his eyes.
Yeah.
And he read with me, which is amazing, because he used to be he used to be an actor. He used to be one of the yeah, Bowery Boys, whatever you call it, Dead End Kids, back when
Okay.
he was on Broadway. And so when I finished my scenes, he said, wonderful, 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 wonderful. Amazing, amazing. You don't have to do the other role. You don't have to do the other role. Give me a week. Give me a week. Give me a week. Very quick, New York. Give me a week. Give me a
Yeah,
week.
yeah, yeah.
So the week came, went. Next week came, went. Next week came, went. Following week came and went. And I just forgot about it. And I
Yeah.
think beginning of the fifth week, I got a call that that I got in the role. And then it was just amazing going in and working with him, because his process of working was he used to use 2 weeks of rehearsals at the Ukrainian ballroom down in the Lower East Side. And all the actors would assemble this long table, and we would just read the piece for the first couple of days. Then we would start putting it up on its feet. And then the following week, he would bring in the DP and map out the shots. That was like an amazing experience. And I'm working with all these, his ensemble of amazing New York character actors, a whole bunch of them in the film, along with Nolte and Asante and Timothy Hutton, and it was just an amazing experience. And we would do 2-3 takes, when we were shooting, and then move on, because he had already rehearsed. He already knew what he wanted.
Right.
So I can't say enough about the guy. He was truly amazing. And, when you work with someone like that, you probably have worked with almost every known actor that's ever lived.
Yeah.
Yeah. Many.
Yeah. He like, like I mentioned, he was working right to the end. I mean, pretty much. And,
yeah.
He was so many movies of his are just, he did a movie with Sean Connery.
The Offense?
What's that?
The Offense?
Yes.
Offense. Yeah.
That I came across, never heard of, came across on Amazon, and that film blew my mind. I mean, nobody talks about it. You don't see, even with regards to Connery, nobody talks about it. Yeah. It's like it was like a forgotten film.
Exactly. Have you ever seen The Hill?
No. There are a lot of gaps in my Sidney Lumet era. So
yeah, check out The Hill, because it's based in a British prison camp with British prisoners, and it's black and white. I believe it's like 1966, 67. It's an amazing, amazing, amazing film. Sean Connery is in it.
Okay. I'll have to check that out.
Yeah.
You've done so much, and I'll touch on this because it's probably obvious, but you were a part of one of the biggest and best films ever made. You were, Paul, the bartender in Pulp Fiction.
Yeah.
You have the great line when you see Jules and Vincent, when you open the door for them. You weren't in it long, but I was surprised when I was doing background on you. I didn't realize this before, but Tarantino considered you for Jules, and then he got Sam, which unfortunately for you, kind of nullified that. But he also was going to originally have Michael Madsen be Vincent too. So the top two roles changed, dramatically.
Yeah.
What was that process like? I mean, Tarantino was a known name at that point because of the critical success of Reservoir Dogs, but it was Pulp Fiction that launched him. So you were still coming on to something that you weren't, wasn't guaranteed to be seen by anybody.
Exactly. But, they used to deliver the scripts by messenger in the old days. They'd give a script to a bike messenger, and then they would deliver it to your home.
Right.
My apartment. So you open up that manila envelope and you read that script, and it's going to be something. It's going to be an incredible piece. Just reading it, just the rhythm of the dialogue and the scenes. And I walked in, audition. He said he just wanted to see me do Jules, and he'd already seen my work in some of Abel's films, and you know, he asked me to come back the next day and do the other scenes with Jules, and then about a month later, I was flying out to LA, to audition again. It was the final callback, but at the end of the day, I mean, Sam is so iconic in that role. I mean, that's, it's, he got the role. He did an amazing job with it. And, Quentin called me. He said, "Hey, listen, didn't go your way, but I'd like you in the film. Would you play this bartender?" His name was not Paul. I forgot what his name was. It was just.
Did you ad-lib that line?
No, he gave it to me. Quentin gave it to me. He said, "Why don't you say this when at the end? Why don't you just say this?"
Yeah.
And I said, okay. It's like for some reason people remember that line. So.
Yeah. My name's Paul, and this is between y'all.
Yeah, exactly.
Why'd you fucking ask me for? Well, you stand out, and then, like I said, I had seen you in a bunch of stuff by that point. And I was like, oh, cool, he's in this. It's like because he does that with his films. He puts in a lot of people you've seen in a lot of other things in roles that maybe you not necessarily would have seen people in before too. So his films are always populated by really cool actors. A lot of times, a lot of cool character actors, who I almost sense he has more of an affinity for than his leads sometimes.
That's my opinion. Yeah, I mean, he's an enormous, huge movie buff. I mean, his knowledge of film is just staggering. I remember on the set of Pulp Fiction, we were talking about films, and I thought I knew about films.
Oh yeah.
But he just blew me away with his knowledge. I mean, he even knew like the 12th character of very obscure films, who played this and who played that. He knew character actors. It just blew me away.
Yeah,
he used to be like video store guy, right?
Right. He's got a podcast now that I enjoyed tremendously with writer director Roger Avery, who co-wrote Pulp Fiction, that I love. But he talks about stuff, and it's like I don't know how he retains it, because I used to, growing up in the 80s and 90s, I used to have like a binder. I used to have a couple of binders, and I would sit there and I'd go through every movie that opened in Chicago, and I would memorize DPs and screenwriters and actors, and I used to have all that all in my head. And then somewhere along the line, especially when modern technology came into play, almost all of that evaporated out of my head. So now I look up everything, but he still retains it. So, good on him for having that memory, because it's insane.
It's insane. Yep.
Because I couldn't keep up with that stuff, and he still knows everything. I don't know how he has room in his head for anything else anymore.
It's that kind of mind. He's got that kind of mind. It's very very unique, very rare.
But and then you did Four Rooms, his segment of Four Rooms, where you ostensibly played one of the lead characters. There were only like four in that room. Mm-hmm. You, Bruce Willis, Quentin, and I forget who else was in.
Tim Roth,
right. Tim Roth. Was there a woman?
Yeah, Jennifer Beals, I think. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and then you had this. The plot was you were going to bet that the lighter could be, done however many times, or else
10 times.
You could, or else your finger gets cut off. And it's all a build up to the payoff.
Yeah.
Which is hilarious. That's still my favorite part of that movie.
Yeah. One flick and boom.
Yeah. Boom. There it goes. Get it on ice and get to the hospital.
Yep. And I talked to Quentin about that, because I said, hey, listen, this is Men from the South on the Alfred Hitchcock episode.
Yeah.
And he said, yeah, how'd you know that? I said,
yeah, he does, he's an interesting character, because he can kind of appropriate random stuff from everywhere and put his own twist on it and still be original, which most people do that and they're just called, they're called, rip-offs. But his go beyond homage to, superseding the source material in some ways.
Yeah, exactly. Even when we were shooting Pulp Fiction, I said, "Hey, dude, this is like but Kiss Me Deadly
Yeah.
with the suitcase." He said, "Yeah." He said, "Yeah."
Yeah, he takes all of these disparate elements and slant like put up, horror films and
Mhm.
suspense and all crime dramas, all stuff, and he just it's like putting it in a blender and it's all in one film.
Yes, yes. Reservoir Dogs again. It's like The Killing by Kubrick and some other films as well. But he puts his own twist.
Yeah,
He gives it his own twist, and it's becomes original in and of itself.
yeah. I mean, even stuff in like in Django Unchained. I mean, there's references to 20th century films
Yeah.
in the South back in the 1800s. It's
Mhm.
like,
Yeah.
it's still pretty amazing. One thing I wanted to ask you about, you worked with Abel Ferrara twice, correct?
I think more than
Or
more
more?
than that. I think like 4 or 5 times.
Okay. Maybe I just didn't catch all the
Yeah, I did
films.
Miami Vice together. We did King of New York, did Bad Lieutenant. We did the vampire film.
The Addiction.
Yeah, and then we did something with Welcome to New York with Gerard Depardieu, very obscure film.
That one I haven't even heard
It
of.
was like about 10 years ago. Yeah, it's like yeah, so we've worked with him about 5 times. I'm sorry. And
No, you're good.
yeah, so what you want to know about Abel?
Well, there seems to be some internet confusion. Did you have something to do with the screenplay for Bad Lieutenant?
Yeah, I don't want to talk about that. I did.
Okay.
I did. But I don't want to get into it,
Because you're not credited.
Yeah, and yeah, I don't want to get into it because, again, I love Abel and I'm still in touch with him. He lives in Italy right now, so
Right. Yeah. Okay. All right. No problem on that. What was it? I mean, what is your working and friendship like with him? What are those relationships like?
yeah, I think he first saw me in a play back in '84. Uh, it was what's the name of that play? Short Eyes. Second stage here in the city. He had some amazing actors. David Patrick Kelly. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, David
Yeah.
Patrick.
I just watched. I'm oddly enough, I'm interviewing Walter Hill 15 minutes after we're done with our interview, and I just watched The Warriors for the first time the other day. And David, has that iconic scene, the bottles. Yeah.
Yeah. Come out and
But he's
play.
been in lots of Twin Peaks, Dreamscape, a ton of stuff.
Yeah, amazing actor. He was in it. Lawrence Fishburne, young Lawrence Fishburne was in it. He was 23. Ving Rhames was in it. Isa Morales was in it. Michael O'Keefe was in it. Richard Bright was
all in this one play.
All in this one play, directed by Kevin Conway, who was also an amazing actor. And so Abel had seen it, unbeknownst to me. And then, like several months later, I was in Mexico visiting my wife, who was studying anthropology down University of Mexico. And Bonnie Timmerman, who was the casting director for Miami Vice, said, "Hey, Abel Ferrara wants you to be in this episode of Miami Vice." And they flew me in from Mexico to Miami, worked with Isai and David on this episode. And from then on, I didn't know who he was. I didn't know who Abel was. I heard that he had directed Crime Story.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second time I worked with him was I had this amazing agent. His name was Michael Kingman. Back in '89, I used to hang out at his office. As a young actor, just hang out at the office and just,
yeah,
shoot the breeze, throw darts in the office. And he said, "Hey, by the way, this crazy guy just sent over a script. He wants you to be in his movie." He called and he sent the script over. He's nuts.
Yeah.
I said, "Who is he?" He said, "I don't know who he is. He's just nuts." He sounded nuts. I said, "Where's the script?" And he pointed to the trash bin. So I dug out the script and it said King of New York. It said by Nicky St. John and Abel Ferrara. I said, I know Abel. I don't even have to read it. I'll do it.
Yeah.
That was that. So, King of New York led to Bad Lieutenant, and then The Addiction, and then this other film that I mentioned. He had wanted me in another one that he had done, but I was busy with something else. The beautiful thing about Abel was that he used to have a loft on the corner, right inside the corner of 18th and 5th Avenue, right around the corner from Barnes and Noble there. And we used to read scripts, develop scripts. He would audition actors. He would shoot the actors with his 16 millimeter camera. He would audition them. And he would have me help him out, read with these other actors, and just sitting in and, sitting in and just soaking it all in. He was a mentor without labeling himself as a mentor. And because, you had Chris Walken coming in, because Chris originally was the first choice for a Bad Lieutenant.
Okay. Yeah.
And he came in, we read the script, and at the end, because I had already worked with Chris, so we read the script, and at the end of the reading, he said, I don't want to do this. And kind of Abel looked at me, I looked at him, and but then, Harvey came in, he did an amazing job. I mean, they both would have given it, Chris would have given it his own spin, but Harvey was amazing. And, that's the way these things work. So it was just amazing working with Abel, and he was just very, very chaotic, but creatively chaotic.
Right.
And decent human being, amazing human being, very giving, and can't speak.
He seems like one of those true artists, because he's for the most part made films that he wanted to make, uncompromised, and a style that not many people are willing to do now, because essentially it keeps them from the brass ring of money. In a lot of ways.
Exactly.
But I distinctly remember seeing King of New York. I grew up on the south side of Chicago, at the very south end, where basically Chicago ended. But I was close enough to take the bus to a local movie theater in a mostly non-white area of town, and they had all the all the genre films, all the exploitation films, and they had King of New York, and I got to see that there. And my aunt and I went and saw Bad Lieutenant, because we had also got to see Reservoir Dogs, and her and I were like movie partners, back then, and so I'm sitting there with my aunt watching Bad Lieutenant, which was not so much. That is strange considering the movies we'd already seen. Because we went and saw Sugar Hill with Wesley Snipes, State of Grace with Sean Penn. We saw a lot of genre films together. So for some reason that was like our thing. But yeah, Bad Lieutenant, was an experience. Because that is not an easy movie.
Oh, that's a tough film. That's a tough film. Ken Kelch shot it. Ken was one of his regular DPs, ex-Vietnam vet, Green Beret, amazing DP, and it was just an experience, It's like in your face.
Yeah, and as much as it's there were a lot of things I'm sure that were pre-set up, it also feels like a film on the fly too, like a real guerrilla kind of production at times too.
Yeah, all of his films, I would say, had that feel that he would improvise on the spot, depending on what was available, what wasn't available, what was happening in the moment, and so forth and so on.
Yeah. Well, I've gone through a half hour already, so there are some other things I wanted to get to. I want to get to some things personally about you that I didn't realize. You're a trained instructor in yoga, Tai Chi, meditation, and Chai Kung Healing Tao system.
Oh my God.
I'm not even sure what that is.
No, like I've dabbled in, yes, I've been certified. My wife had a yoga studio here in Brooklyn for many years. Um, she's a trained yogi. I was certified on the same instructor, certified that studied Qigong and Tai Chi with this amazing teacher from Thailand. He's still around, Mantak Chia. And yeah, I got certified by him. And, that's kind of like something that I don't talk about or mention, but it's there. So,
Yeah, no, I just thought it was pretty cool because I don't think a lot of people would know that. And are these pursuits like just as a way for mind life balance, or is this something to kind of do when you're between roles so you aren't sitting there waiting for whatever, an email to come through or the phone to ring or what have you? What was your interest in getting into them?
I guess for personal reasons, yoga, I've been at it since when I was introduced to yoga back in the early 80s. It was life changing. Amazing instructor, Beryl Bender, and her husband, Tom Birch. They were the ones that brought power yoga over to the East Coast many, many, many years ago. So my wife had tried getting into yoga like back in the, like early 80s. And it was kind of like, that kind of like soft thing. It had been in the
Yeah,
martial arts. So I wanted something rough and tough, but
yeah,
yoga was in it. But when I was introduced to, someone said, "Hey, I'm going to take an Ashtanga class." I said, "What? What's Ashtanga?" I said, "Oh, you should come check it out." And I went. I just got addicted to it. It was just an amazing experience. And then with the Tai Chi, the Qigong, with the Taoist healing system, it was just something that I knew would benefit me, would help me throughout, and
mhm,
it's kind of like what I depend on daily to get me through.
yeah. What was the thing you said? Ashtanga?
Ashtanga yoga.
Oh, so that's a form of yoga.
That's a
What's
foot.
what, what's
Yeah.
what's different about that from regular yoga?
Well, back in the day, back in the 80s, a lot of the yoga was kind of soft and just kind of flowing. Just
Yeah,
kind of, this was like more,
hippie-ish.
yeah, exactly. Peace, all that kind of
Yeah,
good stuff.
yeah.
But with the Ashtanga yoga, it was just like you're jumping into and out of postures and using this real powerful breathing technique called the Ujjayi breath, and you just get high and you sweat like a dog. We had no yoga mats back in the day.
Oh, so
Beryl would say, just bring your towel to mop up the sweat. And we would train in these lofts all over the city, many times down in the Lower East Side. And we
yeah,
just work out and train. And basically told her once on the phone, we were speaking on the phone, and I said, you literally saved my life. you know
really,
it was very life changing, and if it hadn't been for that, I don't know where I'd be.
really. Why do you say that? What path were you kind of? Were you on a path of some sort? What was going on with your life at that point?
I was a struggling actor. I still hadn't so-called made it. I didn't know where I was going to end up. Actors always, they struggle even when they make it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So when you don't make it, it's a different kind of struggle. And uh, you know, came from really rough environments, on the Lower East Side, Spanish Harlem, and just a lot of craziness in the head. And just, yeah, it was a game changer, life changer for me.
yeah. Well, people, we've had this. I've had this conversation with other people. One of my first guests was Chris Franz from the Talking Heads, and they started up on, I believe, the Lower East Side as well. And people forget, and New York's not a sparkly city now,
Yeah.
but people really forget what New York was like before the 1990s, and
Yeah.
it was hell.
Yeah. Hell on earth. Yeah. It was tough. I mean, all over the five boroughs. I mean, Manhattan, Lower East Side, Spanish Harlem, Black Harlem, even Hell's Kitchen, Brooklyn, Bronx. Yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah. People forget it. Brooklyn, is wasn't Williamsburg. back in the 80s.
And
it was a place nobody wanted to be.
Exactly. And it's not the Lower East Side that we see today. And it's,
No.
Yeah.
No. I mean, like with bringing up Chris, CBGB's is now a fashion store. I think I talked to the guy. What's that? Oh yeah. I forget the guy's name, but it's a fashion store now. So it's like, it's not the same New York. So, people have to, if you look at a lot of these films from the 70s and 80s, you'll see what New York looked like.
Yeah.
You mentioned about growing up. Well, you were born in Puerto Rico, but you also did a lot of interesting things. I saw something about you being a demolition person, and then you were a trail cutter for anthropologists. Is this stuff true, or is this stuff?
No, it's true. It's true. I used to demolish apartments just to make a living. Again, I was a struggling actor. I was doing off Broadway.
Right.
Didn't even have an agent. So what am I going to do in my spare time when I'm not working, which was kind of rarely, because you do an off Broadway play, and you basically have to pay to be in it, because
right.
So yeah, just demolishing apartments, cleaning apartments. Wound up in the Amazon. The bunch of anthropologists, and my job was to cut trails. And I was scared as hell because you're not.
You're in the Amazon. You're the point person with just a machete, probably.
And I got lost one day. I was supposed to cut a trail and then work my way back to base camp. And they would tie these ribbons around tree branches so you can find your way back.
Yeah.
And I got lost.
All right. What's the most harrowing thing you experienced in the Amazon besides being lost? That was it. Okay, good.
Because once 6 o'clock arrived, I remember it was like someone would just turn off the lights in the apartment. And I was checking my watch, right? And it was like 5:45 and 5:50. And I kid you not, as I was trying to find my way to one of those ribbons on a tree, I say, if I could find a ribbon, right? Because I was fucking lost. If I can find a ribbon, I can make it back to base camp. All of a sudden, I don't know what it was, but the bushes rustled like hugely.
Oh, no.
I jumped up like 10 feet in the air with machete that I was holding, and I did a Bruce Lee kung fu. It was bogus, but that was like the reaction that I did.
Yeah.
And I took the posture with the machete. I don't know what it was. Nothing came out, but it was like it was like someone had like shaking.
It could have been like a small like boar or something.
Yes, but you don't know in the moment where you think it's jaguar.
That, or it's a tiger.
No, well, they don't have tigers in the Amazon, but the jaguar.
Oh, they don't. Oh, then forgive me for
what's that? The jaguar. Yeah. It's like
Yeah. That can't be any fun.
No, that wasn't fun. I remember the stream in which we used to bathe, because we had to bathe in the stream. It was a stream that had these huge holes on the sides. And I said, oh, that's interesting. What are those? I said, oh, anaconda holes.
Oh.
I said, but don't worry, they won't come out until later.
Do they have a time that they come out?
I guess so.
6 o'clock, probably.
Yeah. So, you had ants this big, and sometimes you'd have to fight them off your shoes because they would leave the pincers like inserted.
Yeah.
About the body, the heads would still be there attached to whatever they had attached themselves to.
Oh, no, not for me.
Yeah, and I got dysentery too. So I must have lost like 15 pounds.
Jesus.
But it was, But
It's
I
an
was,
experience. You had no matter what, you had an experience.
yeah. And at night, I remember the trees would just, the trees would, the ones that were rotting would just collapse near your tent. They would just whoosh. And
Oh,
then you
great.
hear splashes at night by the river, the Amazon River, right? One of the tributaries, right? And I said, what are those? What are those sounds? They said, oh, those are caimans. Those are like alligators.
Oh, great.
Yes, it was like
Anacondas, jaguars,
yeah,
and
giant
caimans.
ants and yeah.
Giant ants. Yeah, it's like some sort of King Kong movie.
Yeah, sort of. And you're not shooting anything, so you're there on your own, kind of
Yeah,
like
yeah.
anthropologist. So
Yeah, you got an anthropologist and a machete, and that's all you got.
that's all you got. Yeah. And this is before phones and the
Yep.
picture, all that good stuff. So
Yeah. You certainly can't count on the anthropologist to help you.
no.
they're book learning people.
Yep.
Well, as my final question, I kind of want to. Well, there's two final questions I got. One, what would you say is your favorite role that you've performed? It could be off Broadway, it could be TV, whatever. What was the one that you just got gassed on, the most?
Yeah, I believe that was a play that I did at the Public Theater when my oldest son was about to be born. I played a boxer because I'd always had fantasies of being a boxer. So I played a boxer, middleweight boxer, and I was trained by highly regarded middleweight contender who was now retired by the name of Michael Lajade. And I had to dance in that. I had to fight. I had to be naked and take a shower on stage naked, 450 seat house. And I lost 15 pounds in that one too, from just the sweat and the exertions. I had fight scenes, I had to die. And I almost died during that production because I swallowed one of the blood packets. Because at the end I die and I'm supposed to spit out blood. This time, like these little plastic bags that are tied up, I had like 3 of them in my mouth so I could take these punches and then spurt out the blood. This particular night, one of them lodged in my throat. And I said, I'll just continue. And I'm throwing the punches, I'm trying to finish. And then I start, one of the usherettes cried out, he's asphyxiating. The audience thought it was part of the play. And in my mind, I said, shit, I got to get backstage and use the chair for the Heimlich maneuver because all the on stage was just looking at me. What the hell is going on with this guy? So I envisioned myself heading backstage to do the Heimlich on a chair. I couldn't move. It was like you ever seen those movies where the characters like
slow-mo?
Yeah. And I said, I'm not gonna make it. Then all of a sudden I think muscle spasms or something kind of like got caught on the floor, like boom, hit the floor really hard and it came out. It came with blood, real blood.
Yeah.
And they wanted to stop the play and it was like 5 minutes before it ended. I said, no, I just signaled with my gloved hand because I still had the gloves on. And we finished the play. We ended that night. And so, yeah, long story.
But no, but it's cool. I mean, God, you almost died doing an off-Broadway play, but you saved yourself.
This is actually an off-Broadway play, which is
you're gonna die. One less off. But yeah, you saved yourself basically by involuntary spasming and falling on your chest. I mean, you did the same thing you were trying to do, just not exactly planned.
Not exactly planned, exactly.
Yeah, that's an amazing story. God. Well, the last thing I wanted to ask you about, and this inevitably comes up, how long did you live in Puerto Rico before you came to the U.S.?
I was 6 when I came to the States.
Okay, but you lived around, I guess, other family members of
Oh yeah,
so there was a big Puerto Rican history within your culture within where you lived.
Yeah, my grandfather on my mother's side was a tobacco farmer.
Okay.
I remember him trying to show me how to tie tobacco. I could never get it. My uncle would kill pigs, string them up. They would ask me to bring the bucket over to drain the blood. And they would always try to teach me how to kill the chickens by just grabbing them by the neck and snapping their necks.
Yeah.
You could never get the hang of it. So the chicken would have like a broken neck, but it was alive.
Oh boy.
I'd be running around, running around the grounds with a broken neck, but not dead. And yeah.
Do you still have family in Puerto Rico at all?
Yeah.
How are they doing right now?
The storm hit them really, Ian hit them really, really hard, but tough people, strong people.
Yeah. Well,
through it.
I sure hope we're doing more this time than we did when Trump was in office.
Yeah, I think a little bit more than paper towels. Yeah.
Yeah. I wanted to make a joke when on social media when Ian showed up that Trump was going to go down there and throw paper towels at people again, but I don't think it was too dark for the moment. So well, what is the dish, the food dish that you identify most or love the most that you miss or you get somewhere? I mean, what is like for you? What is the iconic food item from Puerto Rico?
So my mom was an amazing cook, and it was everything that she would prepare.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember I was doing a Broadway play, and she would come with bags of food between the matinee and the evening performance, and all the actors would gather.
Oh yeah.
To partake, and it just everything that she would prepare was just amazing food. I mean, fattening, but
yeah. Well, it's there's something to be said that's amazing about Puerto Rican food. I used to be a food writer, so I've tried as many cultures as I possibly have been able to so far, but I still got a lot more. And I used to have I used to live down the street from a Puerto Rican sandwich shop that I would go to.
Yeah,
Burritos.
Yeah. But I would say, Brett, probably my favorite food was the pasteles.
Okay. What is that?
That's, you take a whole bunch of plantains, right? Green plantains, you mush them up, right? And then you put pork meat and all kinds of good stuff. And then you kind of like make these long kind of burrito kind of things. Okay. You wrap them up in plantain leaves, tie them up, you boil them, and then you unwrap them, and just the vapor and the aroma before you dig into them, it's just amazing.
So and I hate to kind of narrow this down, but in my head, I'm thinking of like a Puerto Rican tamale almost.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, it sounds amazing.
It is.
Pasteles.
Pasteles, yeah.
Okay, I'll have to check that out next time I go to I have to find a place that does it. Yeah. Well, Paul, we went a little bit over, but I really appreciate you taking the time. It was a true honor. I'm sure I didn't get to many. I didn't get to something I just watched this year. I just watched all of Bosch, and you were on like 30 episodes of that, and I thought it was so great to see you have a recurring role on that. It's a shame that you're not on the new show, but that's a kind of a different spin on what it started. So but you've always been one of my favorite people in movies, and whenever you're on screen, I know I'm going to enjoy what you're doing in that moment. So this was a true pleasure.
Thank you, Brett. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for the questions, and thank you for taking me down memory lane. Yeah, no,
I always like to try to get a little bit off track with people so that somebody's watching, gets to know the person for who they really are. I didn't even get to the fact that you're a dancer and you and your wife had a dance instructing studio. I even saw the website, I don't know if it's an old website or it's still up.
No, it's an old website.
Yeah, it's very 2000 looking. But there was that. I couldn't even get to that, but I really appreciate you taking the time. I wish you the best of luck, and hopefully we get to talk again down the road.
Fingers crossed on that. Okay, Brett. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too now.
All right. Bye.
Bye-bye.